So today, we are doing a deep dive into, it has to be one of the most famous and famously short careers in internet history. We're talking about Mia Khalifa.
It's a fascinating case study. Really, it's about virality, it's about exploitation, and maybe most importantly, narrative control. Her actual professional filming career, it was, 3 months?
Just 3 months.
And despite that, she is still arguably the most searched person in that entire field.
And right there, that's the thing you, the listener, need to hold on to, this huge dissonance. Her videos have, hundreds of millions of views. They've made massive profits for the studios. And yet, she claims she only made $12,000 from her entire career.
Exactly. And that contradiction, that is the mission of this deep dive. We're trying to unpack these two completely colliding narratives. On one hand, you have the victim narrative, the one she's pushed, that she was exploited, massively underpaid, manipulated. But then there's this counter narrative with evidence suggesting, a longer tenure, some prior experience, and a lot more personal agency than she lets on.
We're looking for those aha moments, the things that show what's really going on between those two extremes.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. She was born in Lebanon in 1993, raised Catholic. Her family moves to the U.S. in 2011.
Right, and they were fleeing the violent protests in Lebanon at the time. So there's trauma right from the start, that kind of displacement.
And she arrives in the U.S. post 9/11 as a Middle Eastern girl.
Which was just brutal for her. She was relentlessly bullied. The source material talks about how she was frantically trying to assimilate. She wanted a bar mitzvah. She would only eat PB&J sandwiches, just trying to fit in.
And this constant pressure plus bullying about her weight, it just fueled this incredibly low self-esteem. It sounds like she was just desperate for any kind of validation.
Oh, completely. It was a search for external validation. And that led her to relationships that maybe weren't the healthiest. She met her future husband when she was just 16.
16.
Yeah, and he was 23. They were at a military school in Virginia. That 7-year age gap is, really important when you see what happens next.
And she marries him the moment she turns 18. This need for affirmation also seems to be behind this huge physical transformation she goes through in college. She lost 50 pounds. But even how she tells that story is contradictory.
That's right. In one version, she says it was just, exercise and cutting out soda, normal stuff.
The healthy version?
Yeah, the healthy version. But then in another telling, she admits to the much darker reality, starving herself, abusing laxatives.
And this whole physical transformation, if you look at her whole career arc, this is a massive turning point. Because even after she lost the weight, she had these deep insecurities, loose skin, and she actually described as deformed.
She said she couldn't stand being in a bikini. And that insecurity is what led directly to the breast augmentation she saved up for in Miami.
Right.
And she described those implants as finally giving her the looks of lust that she wanted from the world instead of the looks of disgust she felt she always got. That's a huge shift in self-perception.
It is. And that desperation for a new identity, for that external validation, that's what makes her later claim of being suddenly manipulated into the industry. It makes it feel a bit shaky.
It does, because the sources show she was already moving toward explicit content and her partner was encouraging it.
Her first husband?
Absolutely. He's central to all of this.
Yeah.
He had what the sources call an unhealthy obsession. And before any professional career, they were actively posting explicit photos of her on Reddit.
On a subreddit of all places.
Yeah, for anyone unfamiliar, that's a community built around the fantasy of watching your partner with someone else. They had usernames, Dirty Chem and Dirty Kim's wife.
The sources even have specific examples like her teasing messages to some guy named Cody and her husband just egging her on, writing, "Go on."
So this was an active shared hobby. And it wasn't just online. Her path wasn't out of nowhere. In 2012, before her official debut, she was working at a strip club in El Paso called Coda.
And there are videos from then that confirm this was before the breast implants.
Exactly. So she'd been kind of financially easing into this world for years.
Which brings us to the famous recruitment story. The one that happens outside of Fuddruckers in Miami.
Right. A marketing exec from a company called Score Group approaches her, compliments her, asks her to model.
And she said she was reluctant at first. But the flattery, it worked. It validated this whole expensive physical change she'd just gone through.
So she agreed. But here's what's so fascinating. The public story is that her first work was with
Right.
The sources correct this. Her first gig was with Group. It was 226 photos and 2 hours of video. That's where she even came up with her stage name.
Mia from her dog, Khalifa, from the rapper Wiz Khalifa.
Yep. And that initial work is what got Bang's attention. They saw her, realized she spoke Arabic, and that's when they got the idea.
The infamous scene where she's wearing a hijab while performing sex acts.
The second that video dropped, the reaction wasn't just local, it was globally explosive.
I mean, it was seen as profoundly offensive, not just because is haram in Islam, but using the hijab like that, it was seen as this huge provocation, a middle finger to her home country.
And the fallout was immediate. And it was personal. She was getting floods of deaths, horrifying photoshopped images of her by ISIS.
Wow.
And then her parents publicly disowned her. They released a statement saying her actions do not reflect our family beliefs.
Okay, wait, let's pause there. Her family disowns her. She's getting credible death threats from terrorist sympathizers. How does a person even respond to that kind of pressure?
Well, she fought back with this, extreme defiance and dark humor. She was joking about it, saying she was saving her expensive tits, and when people said she was going to hell, she'd joke about getting a tan in hellfire.
That's a startling level of disconnection from the severity of the threat.
It is, but ironically, this is what made her go stratospheric. It's a textbook case of the Streisand effect.
Right, where trying to censor something just makes it a million times more famous.
Exactly. The outrage just amplified her fame. She gained 100,000 Twitter followers, 2 million on Instagram, basically overnight. She became the most searched actress on the hub.
Which is, of course.
Of course. And here's a crazy detail. At the peak of it all, January 3rd to 6th, 25% of all searches for her name came from Lebanon.
Wow. Even a Lebanese brewery used her iconic glasses in an ad to cash in.
The whole controversy was just pure gold for bros. They signed her to a longer contract. But then, despite all that fame and money, she resigns.
After just 3 months of filming.
Citing the negative attention and the threats, she said it was just too much.
So she stops filming. But it's important to note, she doesn't actually leave the industry. She keeps working as a cam girl until, 2017?
Yeah, still using her fame to make money, just not on a film set.
But that initial controversy, it stuck to her. When she tried to go live a normal life, jobs as a paralegal, a bookkeeper.
It failed immediately. She was recognized everywhere. Co-workers, even her bosses, gave her what she called nasty attention.
She said going out in public was a nightmare. People grabbing her, shoving phones in her face. So her next big move was an attempt to go mainstream.
Right, hosting a sports show for Complex with Gilbert Arenas.
And she was good. She was knowledgeable, articulate. But here's the irony. That job lasted exactly 3 months, the exact same length as her film career. The public just wouldn't let her pass go. The focus was always on who she was, not what she was saying.
And the mainstream world was just as toxic. In 2018, this rap group I Love Friday drops a diss track about her that goes viral on TikTok.
Hits the Spotify Top 50.
And the most painful part of that whole thing is that the song was based on a completely fake, satirical tweet she didn't even write.
No way.
Yeah. The group mistook the irony, made a song making her look stupid, and then just refused to apologize. They said the publicity helped her. She said she felt like she was being clowned on the internet day by day.
So feeling powerless, she completely pivots her narrative. This is 2019. She makes the public revelation that just rocks the internet.
The $12,000 claim.
That she only made $12,000.
And this just instantly shifts public perception. Now she's claiming she was intimidated to the hijab scene. She used this analogy of being too scared to correct a wrong order at a restaurant.
So she frames herself as this young, naive woman who was exploited by a manipulative system. No lawyer, just a money machine for them.
And it worked. This victim narrative totally worked. It fueled this pivot to activism, Black Lives Matter, auctioning her glasses for Beirut explosion victims.
And it led to that petition to bros demanding they take her videos down, which got almost 2 million signatures.
Right, and this is the huge aha moment. Because her narrative provoked this incredibly powerful counter-narrative from bros. They built an entire website just to debunk her claims.
Okay, so let's get into their side of it. They said she made closer to $180,000 over 2 years and 9 months.
Which is way above the average Miami salary at the time. They confirmed she was paid $1,000 a scene, which is standard for a new star.
So her real issue wasn't the percene pay, it was the industry practice of no royalties, no passive income.
Exactly. And they claim she did 28 scenes, not 12. But the most damning thing they did was counter the manipulation claim with actual footage.
Oh, wow.
They insisted that she was the one who negotiated for a longer contract than they even offered. And they showed clips of her bragging about having a lot of creative control, saying she was running the whole thing and living out her dirty fantasies.
The complete opposite of being intimidated.
A total contradiction. And they showed Google Trends data, proving that her traffic spikes always correlated with her controversies. Her own drama was driving her views, not their marketing.
So if the industry was so evil, so manipulative, what does she do now?
Well, this is the ultimate pivot. Her primary source of income today is OnlyFans.
Despite calling the whole industry dangerous.
And while she denied the rumors of making like $6 million a month, she did admit the real number was in the neighborhood of $10,000 a day.
$10,000 a day.
Right.
And her justification is control.
Right. She says it's empowering, she's an entrepreneur, she can block rude people, she posts on her own terms.
But the sources point out some pretty big contradictions there too.
Huge. She first claimed she would never post new content on OnlyFans. Then she did. And OnlyFans itself isn't some perfect safe haven. It's been linked to predatory management, trafficking, all the things she claims she was fleeing.
And maybe the biggest contradiction of all, for you, the listener, is that she still uses the name.
Yeah.
She's still Mia Khalifa.
She's profiting immensely from the very persona she says ruined her life. Her goal, she says, is to warn young people away from the industry, saying, don't join young.
But by keeping the name, she's constantly reinforcing the global brand that she's condemning. If she really wanted to condemn it, she'd drop the name, but then she'd lose the income.
Exactly.
And finally, we have to touch on the more recent stuff. In 2023, she had a deal with Playboy,
which was terminated after she posted a really controversial tweet on October 7th about the Hamas invasion of Israel, calling the attackers freedom fighters.
And she responded by calling Playboy Zionist. We're just noting this to show that her ability to generate controversy is still absolutely central to her public identity.
And there was also the recent sort of random claim that she has ADHD, OCD, and autism, which she says she was diagnosed with in high school, but it never came up before.
So we're back where we started, this central tension, the narrative of the young, manipulated woman.
Pushed into it by an older husband, desperate for validation. And then the other narrative. The savvy, defiant negotiator who used controversy to build a multi-million-dollar brand and continues to do so.
The sources kind of land in a very nuanced place.
Yeah.
They suggest that while she was definitely a victim to some extent, especially that first husband, she ultimately does not take any accountability.
Right, for signing contracts, for negotiating terms, for making those specific scenes. She left the industry on her own terms, but then blamed it when the fame became inconvenient. But let's leave you with this one last question because I think it's a powerful one. The source material notes that the extreme backlash she got from that one hijab scene ruined her chance at living a normal life.
Okay.
So could it be that the sheer severity of that controversy, a consequence of her own calculated act, could it have inadvertently slammed every other door shut? Could it be that continuing this controversial, highly profitable persona was literally the only viable choice she had left?
A question of whether one choice can end up defining all your future options. That is something to mull over. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.